Okay, good morning, everyone. We are going to start out in a reclined position on the mat, but if you don't want to do that, please feel free to sit upright. It's a cold morning if you're in Wisconsin and like me down in the basement, so feel free to grab a blanket or whatever you need to support your comfort during this initial centering phase of class. And right away, drawing the attention to the breath. And if the breath is not a supportive thing for you to draw your attention to or hasn't been helpful in the past, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a sound in the background, or if there's a mantra that you like to say, or tuning into sensations. If the breath is a good anchor for you, continuing to focus on the breath, the rising and falling of the belly and chest. Perhaps the softening of the muscles in the face and the jaw. One of the things that I have been working with in my mindfulness practice is a loving kindness meditation. Some of you may have worked with this in the past. And just briefly, it is essentially wishing loving kindness to others or to yourself. And a common one is to say, either to yourself or to others, may you be safe, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with ease. And I have to admit that I didn't connect with that the first several times that I did it. Actually, many times over the course of years, I really didn't connect with it and almost had an aversion to it. It felt a little fabricated to me. And I struggled with it. I continued to work with it, but I struggled with it. And what I have found, which may or may not be helpful for you over the years, is that I can change those phrases to something that feels genuine within me. And I usually know after I say it whether or not it feels genuine. So it might be a slight tweak. It might be saying something like, may you know that you are loved. May you know that happiness is available to you. Something simple with changing the words may make them feel a little more genuine to you. And I have found that to be true. I have also found that the loving kindness meditation is very helpful as an antidote for annoyance. When I'm doing my meditation and I hear noises of other people in the house or noises outside, or when I'm in the store and I feel annoyance with someone in front of me, practicing connecting with my best self and wishing those things to someone else's best self is a way to really be authentic with the practice. And it's not, I guess what I've learned is that it's not so much that I think necessarily that by wishing it, I can make it so. There's a more genuine aspect to connect with to it. So it's kind of like saying, if all situations were such, this is my wish for you, this is my wish for myself. So we'll work with that a little bit at the end of the practice, and you can work with it a little bit now in this quiet space as we lie here or sit here and breathe for a few more rounds of breath. And we'll come back to that throughout the practice and also at the end of the practice. Today, we are going to be working on low back and hamstrings and some other stuff too, but that'll be kind of part of the focus. So starting to wake up a little bit and bring awareness to the low back, just taking a slight arch, not a painful, exaggerated arch in the low back, lifting the low back just a bit up off of the mat. And then on the exhale, pressing the low back down onto the mat and noticing how that naturally causes the tailbone to lift slightly. And then as you inhale, lifting the low back, noticing how that takes the frontal hip points a little bit forward. It takes that space a little bit wider between the pelvis and the rib cage in the front. And then just moving with that for a few more rounds of breath, very subtle, slight movement. Just starting to draw the attention to that area in the low back. Noticing if there is pain there, acknowledging it. And maybe sending some loving kindness to places where there are pain. And from here, we'll take the knees and hug them in towards the chest, just giving that low back a stretch if you want to. You can lift your head, shoulders, neck up off of the mat as well. Perhaps rock a little side to side, maybe making some mini circles. Feeling that space of the low back. Giving it a little love. And then we'll replace just the left foot down onto the mat and take the right leg, hands can come behind it, extending and bending through the right knee. And if you're quite flexible here, this might not feel like much for you, and you can extend the left leg also if you want to. I like to start out with the bend in the knee on that left side. And pausing in a relatively straight position as you're ready, and taking some ankle circles with the right ankle, switching sides, maybe wagging it back and forth a little bit. And then pointing and flexing a few times with that right ankle. And then hugging the right knee in towards the chest. Left leg can be long or not. And then taking a hold of either the back of the right thigh or the sole of the right foot and coming into a reclined lunge position, or some people call it reclined happy baby pose. Drawing that right knee kind of down towards the right underarm. Sole of the foot is up towards the ceiling. And then perhaps finding just a bit of a micro movement in that right leg. So taking it just a little bit side to side, not so much forward and back, but a little side to side. Just a small range of motion, kind of exploring where there might be some tightness or hesitation. And then bending a little bit deeper through that right knee, and then bringing it back to where it was with the knee on top of, or the ankle on top of the knee, and then bending, and then bringing it back up on top of the knee, and taking that maybe just another time or two, being kind with your range of motion. And then coming back upright, we'll cross that right ankle just on top of the left knee. You can take just a bit of a side to side motion here. Again, kind of massaging the low back, getting into the hips and hamstring muscles a little bit more. And then we'll replace that right foot And hug the left knee in towards the chest now. Right leg can be extended or bent. Double check in with your upper body. We don't want to forget about that. So noticing the neck, the shoulders, keeping some length there, keeping the connection of the back of the mat behind you. And then from here, hands come to the back of that left leg, and we'll lengthen and bend within our range of motion a few times. Eyes can be closed. I personally, and I know I've said it 100 times at least, but I like that in the beginning. It helps me tune in more to how it feels rather than how it looks. And the next time the leg is lengthened, perhaps taking some ankle circles here, lubricating the ankle joint a bit, switching directions whenever you'd like to, and coming back around whenever you'd like to. Maybe taking it a bit side to side. And then from here, we'll bend into that left knee. Hands can come behind the left leg or the sole of that left foot, hugging down towards the underarm on that left side, sole of the foot up towards the sky. And perhaps exploring that kind of micro movement side to side just a bit. And coming back to center. And we'll lengthen and bend through that knee. So taking it so that the ankle is stacked up on top of the knee again, and then bending. Hand could be behind the thigh, it could be on the knee, or you could have it on the foot, whatever is best for your range of motion. And then we'll take that ankle and cross it just on top of the right knee, drawing that left inner thigh away from you. And then perhaps taking that side to side motion, just kind of exploring the spaces that are a little bit tender or tight, exploring the spaces that might feel like a really nice stretch or movement. And then from here, we're going to hug the knees in towards the chest once again, just doing a couple more things in this reclined position. Hands come to the knees, and we're going to circle the knees open and back together again. So let's draw the knees close into the chest, take them out to the sides, take them down a bit, lengthening the elbows, draw the knees together, and then hug them back in towards the chest. So it's kind of like a circular motion with both of the knees, trying to coordinate right and left a bit. And then you can reverse that if you'd like to. Getting into the hips and the low back, loosening things up. And then connecting with the entire back body, really firmly rooted onto the mat, shoulder blades, hips, mid back, upper back. And we're going to take the knees and stack them on top of the hips, shins parallel towards the ceiling. And then we'll take a similar bend in the elbows, so palms of the hands face towards one another. Elbows stacked on top of shoulders, neck is long, core is engaged. And we'll extend the right arm and the left leg, and then exhale, bend. Extend the left arm and the right leg, and exhale, bend. Taking this at your own pace. It's something you kind of want to go a little bit slow with, just so the mind can connect to the body. As much of a mental exercise as a physical one. Continuing to maintain that sense of core strength, spinal strength. And then we'll pause with the legs and arms lengthened. Plug the shoulder blades back down onto the mat. And we'll take the left leg and the right arm out to the side. And then exhale, bring them back in. And then taking the left arm and the right leg out to the side, exhale back in. This is another one we want to kind of go slow with as best as possible, scooping in the core, always pausing with the limbs all facing back up towards the sky, and then going into the second side. Anytime if you feel any pain in the low back, decrease the range of motion, take a bend in the knees, take a pause. And then again, pausing with the limbs up towards the sky again, whatever that is for you. And that might mean that there's still a significant bend in the knees, totally fine. From here, we're going to extend the right arm overhead and lower the left leg. Exhale, bring them back in. Inhale, right leg and left arm. Exhale, scoop them back in. Again, taking that at your own pace, continuing to warm up the back and the core. And maybe taking that one more time on each side if that is appropriate for you. Hug the knees back into the chest as you're ready. Maybe take that side to side a little bit. And then taking the legs over towards the left, reaching the right arm out towards the right, elongating the space between the right hip and the right low ribs. Opening up, gentle press down with that left hand on the right knee. And then coming back to center and switching sides. And coming back to center and bringing yourself up to a seated position. And you can find the legs crossed here. Sitting up nice and tall. And then beginning to hinge at the hip, folding forward with a lengthened spine, reaching the arms out in front, perhaps taking that just a bit side to side or finding stillness. And then walking hands out towards the left, plugging the right hip down onto the mat, getting some length through the right side body, right low back. Walking back to center and over towards the right, getting that stretch now through the left low back. And back to center, bringing yourself back upright. Hands can come to the knees here, and we'll take a circular motion. First going in one direction, scooping in the belly, feeling the base of the pelvis in that circular motion. And then switching directions. Eyes can be open or closed, getting into the shoulders a little more here too. And coming back to center. And just switching your cross so that the opposite leg is in front. It's probably the less habitual side. It might feel a little bit funny. Inhaling up and then exhaling, folding forward, getting that stretch again through the low back and the hips. And walking over towards the right, pausing here, plugging that left hip down, keeping length in the spine as we walk over towards the left, plugging the right hip down. And walking back to center, coming back upright. We'll take the hands behind us and lift through the chest. That was a lot of spinal flexion, so we're taking a bit of an extension here. If you want to, you can elevate the hips up off of the mat. And exhale, release down. Bringing legs out in front. Hands can come behind you either with fingers facing towards you or fingers facing away from you. And we'll take a little sway side to side. So feet are probably just a bit wider than hip width. And then maybe increasing that range of motion so that the inner and outer knees tap down onto the mat or come a little bit closer. Opposite hip might lift up a little bit. Exploring the range of motion for what is right for you. And then if you want, we can do kind of a coordinated hand movement with it. So taking the legs over towards the right, reaching the left arm up. Exhaling, sweeping that left arm across. Inhaling, right arm reaches up. Exhale, sweep through, taking that a few more times at your own pace, experiencing the length in the side body, mobility in the hips, in the back, shoulders. Inhaling and exhaling. And the next time you're over towards the right, if you want, you can elevate here, lifting the hips up off of the mat, taking that left arm, reaching it, pausing here, and exhaling, sweeping through, inhaling, reaching on that other side. Breathing here, feeling that stretch in the hips, hopefully, through the side body, and coming back through to center. Legs out in front, hands can come to the backs of the thighs or the shins. We'll take a few rounds of seated cat-cow, tucking the tailbone, tucking the chin, and then inhaling, opening up, elbows reach back, chest reaches forward. Eyes can be opened or closed, just getting a little more range of motion here through the back. And coming back to neutral as you're ready. You can come to all fours. If you don't want to be on all fours, you could come down to your belly. We're going to do a few rounds of balancing cat here. Plugging the hands down if you're on all fours, knees about hip width distance. Otherwise, you can do the same movement from the belly. Lengthening out from the crown of the head to the tailbone, lengthened spine. We'll take the right leg back and bring the left arm forward, balancing here, connecting with that strength in the hamstring muscles and glutes. Exhaling down, inhaling right arm and left leg. Breathing here, connecting with that length in the spine, and releasing down, taking that a few more times at your own breath. I like to do this one after I do the dead bug, that reclined one that we were doing a little while ago. I think it creates a good sense of the length in the spine. So you can almost imagine here that we were still reclined on the mat. So the back body is lengthened, just like it was when we had the support of the mat underneath us when we were in the reclined position doing a similar motion. And releasing from that. From here, whether you're on your belly or on all fours, we're going to curl under the toes and press back to downward facing dog. Downward facing dog, a pose we do all the time in yoga, but it's really all about the hamstring muscles and the back. So taking as much of a bend in the knees as you'd like to so that you're able to lengthen the spine, reach the sits bones skyward. Plug the hands down onto the mat, all sides of the hands, including the fingertips. Spine is long. You can shake the head no and yes if that helps to connect with a lengthened neck. And then from here, releasing the knees down. If you don't want to be on your knees, you can come back to your belly. If you're okay with being on the knees, we'll press back to child's pose. In child's pose, we're not on the knees too much. We're more on the shins and the tops of the feet. Elongating the spine. See if you can tiptoe the hands just a little bit further, tractioning the spine, reaching the hips back towards the heels and walking the hands just a little bit further. Feeling that length and space. I like the wide-legged child's pose so that kind of my belly and chest can fit between the two legs. And then we'll walk the hands out towards the left. Continue to reach the right hip back, getting a side body stretch. Over towards the right, getting a side body stretch on that left side. And coming back to center. And we'll press back one more time to downward facing dog, or you can stay in child's pose. And then from here, walking feet rather, up towards the hands and finding a forward fold. So take as generous of a bend in the knees as you'd like to prioritize length and tractioning of the spine. Hands can be supported on your shins, your mat, your block, your chair, whatever types of props and support you have around you. And then softening through the knees a bit, we'll inhale, articulate up through the spine, starting to tuck the tailbone, and then articulating all the rest of the way. Back up to standing, chin and neck come last. And we'll take a few half salutations here. We'll inhale, reach the arms up. Feel that elongation through the spine, plugging down of the feet. And then taking the right hand to the left wrist, reaching over towards the right. If you don't like that, you can have one or both of your hands down. Inhaling center and exhaling, switching sides. One of the things I like about the half salutation is it takes the spine through so many different planes of motion. Coming back to center, hands can come to the hips here. We'll hinge at the hips and fold forward. So finding that natural hinge, prioritizing the length of the spine. Hands can come down, letting go of the neck a bit. And then inhaling for a halfway lift. Here in the halfway lift, weight will come a little bit more to the balls of the feet. We're elongating through the spine. Crown of the head reaches forward. And then exhale, knees are soft and we'll fold forward. Inhale, reach all the way up. Find that articulation of the spine. Hands can come to the low back and we'll lift the chest. Reaching the heart forward. And then coming back to neutral standing. We'll take that one more time. Inhaling the arms up. Exhaling, we'll take the left hand to the right wrist and reach over towards the left. Coming back through to center and over towards the right. Back to center. And exhale, fold forward. Hands can come to the hips or not. Inhale, find your halfway lift. And then exhale, fold back in, finding that length and stretch in the low back, in the hamstring muscles. And then rooting through the feet to rise up, articulating all the way back up to standing. Inhaling, hands come to the low back. We'll lift the chest with supported low back. Draw the shoulders open. And exhale, come back to center. Taking that into a few sun salutations now. Feet are about hip width distance and we'll plug the feet down onto the mat. And with that sense of rootedness, really reaching the crown of the head upright, standing up nice and tall. Slight abdominal contraction, pulling the navel in, allowing the tailbone to lengthen down towards the mat. Invite just a bit of softness in the knees so they're not locked. And we'll inhale, reach the arms up. Continue to plug the feet down. And then exhale, hinging at the hips, folding forward. Knees are soft. Inhale for your halfway lift. And exhale, fold back in. Let's step the right foot back into a lunge position. And just start to heel toe that left foot a little bit more out towards towards the left, and you can have it even at a bit of a diagonal. So the left toes are angled a little bit off of the mat, getting a little more openness through the inner thigh. You can take your right knee down or keep your right knee elevated. You can slide a little bit forward and back. I'm going to grab my block. If you want to, you can use a block or a chair. And maybe you even want to come down a little bit lower using that block or chair, lowering the forearms down onto the mat. So lots and lots of options, just kind of exploring that a little bit, taking that time to find the option that's right for you. Breathing here. Maybe letting go a little bit in the jaw and in the neck. And then if you want, continuing to use the block or not, you can take your right hand down and reach the left arm up for a twist. Actively reaching through those left fingertips. And then exhaling, releasing down from that. Here we'll heel toe that left foot more towards a standard lunge, a little bit more towards center. You can stay here with your knee elevated, or you can lower that right knee down. Hands will come to the top of the left thigh, and you can kind of push the skin away a little bit as you take that right frontal hip point a little bit more forward, getting a good stretch here through the quadricep muscles, hip flexor muscles. And if you don't want to be down on your right knee, you may want to come up to standing for this next one. We're going to find a halfway split. So we're taking our left toes up towards the sky. Those right toes can be tucked under. You can hinge forward here. Some people, including me, like to take the right hip all the way down towards the right heel and just get a little bit into that stretch in a slightly different way. Now, you can stay as is. If you don't want to be on the knee, I know some people have knee replacement, it doesn't feel good. You can be in the standing position, taking that bend in the right knee, flexing the left toes up towards the sky and kind of hinging forward with this straightened left leg. Totally fine. Feel free to hold on to a wall or whatever you'd like for support. And wherever you are in that stretch, perhaps taking just another breath or two there. Elongating through the hamstring muscles, back of the leg. And then walking forward. Planting the hands, curling under those right toes. We'll take the left foot back to meet the right, coming into downward facing dog, pedaling out the feet, finding stillness, just offering yourself what it is that you might need right now. And then from here, we'll come through to plank position on the knees or not. Take my shirt in here. And lengthen through the crown of the head, reach the heels back, find that very strong sense of core, both in the front body and the back body. And then on the knees or not, we'll lower all the way down to the mat. Here you can feel free to take cobra pose, or if you're looking for something different, we'll come into Sphinx pose, elbows underneath the shoulders, and you can kind of traction the chest forward a little bit. Traction the elbows back towards you, rooting down through the pelvis, rooting down through the tops of the legs. And exhaling, releasing from that. Curling under the toes and pressing back to downward facing dog, or taking a pause in child's pose. Prioritizing that length in the spine, the hinge at the hips. And if you'd like to, you can take a transition by coming to all fours, scooping that right foot forward, or you can step that right foot forward, maybe guide it along with the hand, grabbing a hold of the back of the calf. We're coming into that lizard lunge again. So heel toeing that right foot out towards the right, maybe at a little bit of an angle. You can stay elevated on the left ball of the foot, or you could lower down to the left knee. You can stay on the hands, or maybe you want to lower down to the forearms, perhaps sliding forward and back just a little bit, or finding stillness. It might be that it's a little bit different on this side than the other side. And from here, you can heel toe that foot a little bit closer. Plant the left hand and reach that right arm up towards the sky. Actively reaching right fingertips, actively pushing up and out of the left hand. And releasing down from that. You can stay with the leg elevated, or you can go down onto the left knee, taking hands just above the right knee and kind of gently tugging the skin away from the hip, just gently, and then pressing the hips forward, getting that stretch here through the hip flexor muscles now on that left side. One more breath here. And then taking hands down towards the mat. You can curl under the left toes or not, and take that right leg straight as you hinge over it. And remembering the different options, you can sink all the way back to the heel. You can come up to standing. You can keep the hip stacked on top of the knee. Kind of exploring that range of motion for you, getting a stretch through the back of the right leg. Toes are nice and active here. Continuing to breathe, continuing to lengthen the spine. And then beginning to re-bend through that front right knee. Take the left foot forward to meet the right, firmly rooting down through all sides of the feet as you hinge forward. Inhale for your halfway lift, reach the chest forward. Weight will come a little bit more to the balls of the feet. And then exhale, gently folding back in. Rooting through the feet to rise, coming all the way back up to standing, reaching the arms up here, and exhaling, folding forward. Taking a little twist, we'll plant the right hand, reach the left arm up towards the sky. You can lunge, or not lunge, but bend through that right knee, left leg is straight. Exhaling center and switching sides. Pressing out gently through the outer right hip. And then coming back to center. We're going to step the left foot back to warrior one. So left toes will line up towards the top left corner of the mat. Heel to heel or wider for your alignment of your legs. And we'll come up to standing. Plugging that back foot down, rotating the chest forward. Hands can stay on the hips, or you can reach them up towards the sky. Right knee stacked on top of right ankle. Breathing here. Feeling the hamstring muscles and glutes on that left side. And from here, releasing the arms down, lacing the fingers if that's okay for your shoulders and chest, lifting the heart. And then perhaps coming to humble warrior, rounding the spine and drawing right shoulder down towards right knee, or maybe to the inner right knee. Right hip will stay or try to stay in line with the right knee rather than going way out to the side. Giving you a stretch through the IT band area on that right side. Stretch for the back. The shoulders. Softening through the face a bit. And inhaling, pushing up and out of that. Taking the stance a little bit closer. Hands will come to the hips. I like to encourage both of the hips down and away from the rib cage before I begin to come into pyramid pose, hinging over that right leg. Making sure the right knee isn't locked, but it is straight. You can keep hands on the hips. You could take them to the low back. You could take them down to the mat. Trying to keep the neck in line with the spine here as best as possible. I often have the tendency to want to look forward, and that can strain my neck a bit. So perhaps just inviting a bit of length into the neck. And on the next inhalation, we'll come back up to standing. Hands can come to the heart. And we're going to come into warrior three. So finding balance on that right leg, taking the left leg back, finding some length and strength in the back, core. Feel free to take another arm variation if you want to. You could reach the arms back or forward, keep them at the heart, take them to a wall or a chair. And releasing down from that, coming back up to the top of the mat. Exhaling, hinging forward. And stepping the right foot back for warrior one. Right toes angled up towards the top right corner of the mat, so they're at a bit of a diagonal. And we'll inhale all the way up. Lengthening through the crown of the head. Arms can reach here, or you could keep them at the hips. Left knee stacked on top of left ankle. And releasing the arms down. You can lace the fingers here if you want. Opening up through the chest. Keeping that lunge in the front knee and then hinging forward over that left leg. Left shoulder towards inner left knee. Breathing here, keeping the feet really plugged in on all sides, noticing if the weight has transitioned to the front or the back or the big toe edge or the little toe edge. Lengthening the neck, crown of the head down towards the mat. And then inhaling, pushing up and out of that. You can take the stance just a little bit closer. Hands could come to the hips here, and we'll hinge forward into pyramid. Hinging at the hips, keeping length in the spine. Hands can stay on the hips, or they could come to the low back or down to the mat. Feeling that stretch through the back of the left leg. Settling into the breath a bit here. And noticing if there's any thoughts of loving kindness that you'd like to connect with here in this pose, either sending that loving kindness, those wishes to yourself or to others that are practicing with us. Or anyone else. On the next inhalation, coming all the way back up. Hands can come to the heart, or they could reach back or reach forward. hinging into warrior three. So that right leg reaches firmly back as if you were trying to push the right heel into something. So the right heel and the crown of the head are lengthening as far away from one another as possible in warrior three. Hands can stay wherever they are. If you want a little more support, you could take them to a wall or a chair. Breathing here. And then coming all the way back upright. We'll do one more balance pose before we come down. Standing up nice and tall. And from here, hinging over towards the right. Hands can come to the hips. That right leg will elevate. Left leg will elevate. Arms could reach as well. Hands could be at the heart or reaching out to the side, coming into star pose. Back body is as if it were trying to press up against a wall behind you. And coming back to center, and we'll switch sides. Hands can come to the hips again. And hinging over towards the left, arms can reach. Core is engaged, back is open. And releasing down from that. Before we come all the way down, we'll just come into a wide-legged stance. Hinging at the hips, firmly rooting down through the big toe edges of the feet. Spine is lengthening, tractioning, and then walking the hands just a ways forward off of the mat. And coming into a wide-legged downward facing dog. This is a nice way to experience the tractioning of the spine without the weight in the upper body quite as much. So you're lengthening the whole back body. Arms can climb as far forward off of the mat as you'd like. And then walking those hands back underneath the shoulders. We'll take the right hand down to the mat and reach the left arm up towards the sky, keeping the hips pretty square so that you could balance something if you needed to on the low back. I don't know why we'd need to, but you never know, I guess. Exhale, coming back to center, and inhaling, reaching up towards the sky with that opposite arm. Hips reach back, spine is long, still continuing to focus on the length of the spine while we're twisting. Crown of the head and tailbone in opposition. And then coming back to center. And however you'd like to come down to seated, making your way down to a seated position from there. So from here, we're going to take the left foot to the inseam of the right leg, sitting up nice and tall. If you want to use your strap, you can. If your knee is way up, which mine is on the other side, not so much on this side. If your knee is way up, you may want to tuck something underneath it so it feels supported. You can use your strap or not. Lengthening up through the crown of the head. And then exhaling, hinging forward at the hips. Reaching over that right leg. Feeling a stretch through the left low back here. So you're orienting your chest kind of over that right leg rather. Keeping length in the spine. And inhaling, rising all the way back up, turning over towards the left for a twist, taking the right hand towards the left knee, left hand behind. Taking the gaze out over the left shoulder with broad collarbone. And then nice and easy, nice and gentle, taking it out over the right shoulder for a neck stretch. And coming back through to neutral, gently untwisting. And we'll take the left foot and the right foot to meet one another. Soles of the feet together. Knees can kind of reach down and open within your range of motion. Sitting up nice and tall, and then folding forward in any amount. Getting that stretch through the low back, through the inner thighs. Making it a little bit fluid, perhaps a sway, or finding stillness. And then we'll take that left leg out towards the left, right foot to the inseam of that left leg. Turning over towards the left leg so the torso is kind of lined up with the leg, and then hinging forward with or without the use of a strap. You can walk your hand down the leg or grab a hold of the ankle or the foot. Breathing here, continuing to focus on the hinge of the hip and the length in the spine. And inhaling, coming all the way back upright. You can take your left hand across over towards the right knee. Right hand can come behind you. And we're broadening through the chest and collarbone. Gaze can go out towards the right shoulder, taking the chin, just kind of over that right shoulder. And then exhaling nice and easy, passing through center and taking the chin out over the left shoulder. And coming back to center, releasing from that. You can take the legs out in front, maybe give them a little bit of a shake. Sometimes it can feel kind of nice to hit the backs of the legs on the mat or the floor underneath you. And releasing from that, coming all the way down to the mat. Feel free to hug the knees into the chest right away. Breathing here. And planting the feet underneath and taking the feet so they're firmly rooted down onto the mat. Back body is rooted down onto the mat. And taking a couple rounds of a moving bridge pose. So starting with the tailbone, articulating the spine up, coming up towards the shoulder blades, back of the head, neck is neutral, arms are down to support you. And then just the same way you came back up, one vertebra at a time, articulating the spine all the way back down onto the mat. From there, lifting the low back just a little bit, tucking the tailbone, and then pressing the low back down onto the mat and articulating the spine all the way back up. This time, perhaps taking the arms along with you, reaching them up overhead, backs of the hands come down onto the mat. And then exhaling, articulating down, articulating all the way. Arms reach down, release down. We'll do that a couple more times. Inhaling, articulating up. And reaching the arms. Exhaling, articulating down. So the arms just kind of come along for the ride. This time, when you're all the way down, coming into a little mini crunch. Arms will reach forward, shoulders, shoulder blades, upper back, come up off of the mat, squeezing the core here. And then inhaling, coming all the way back up to bridge pose, arms reach up overhead. And exhaling, articulating down, continuing that momentum as you reach the arms forward. Find that mini crunch. Arms are super active, fingers are active. And then from there, elevating the legs. You can keep the knees bent or you can extend the legs long. Breathing here, core is engaged. Replanting the feet. We'll take that whole thing one more time. Inhaling, articulating up to bridge pose, arms reach. Exhaling, continuing that momentum, lifting up into the mini crunch, squeezing the belly, extending the legs if you'd like. Breathing here. Replanting the feet, lifting up just a little higher in that mini crunch. And releasing down from that. Taking any other stretches or poses that you'd like to take. And eventually making your way to a place of stillness. Reconnecting with the breath. And perhaps reconnecting with the loving kindness mantras if they speak to you. And so, of course, it's not magic. I can't wish somebody to be healthy that is dying and they're going to be healthy. But I think it's important to remember that it's relative. So whatever health is available to that person right now, and it might be health in their mind and their spirit. It's relative to what is actually possible. So if you want to make your own loving kindness statements, you can, or you can do the traditional ones. May I be safe. May I be happy. May I be healthy. May I live with ease. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. And continuing with that in any way that you'd like for the next several minutes as we rest here in awareness. This is a quote from Sharon Salzberg, a mindfulness teacher. Loving kindness is a profound recognition that our lives have something to do with one another, that everyone counts, everyone matters. Beginning to invite a bit of movement back into your body, or resting in stillness for a while longer. Perhaps making your way up to seated, or perhaps staying reclined. I want to thank you for sharing your practice and your positive energy with each other and with me today. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease.